and therein lies the road to war, because those voices don't speak for the rest of us. You and I know and do not believe that life is so dear and peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery. If nothing in life is worth dying for, when did this begin? Just in the face of this enemy? Or should Moses have told the children of Israel to live in slavery under the Pharaohs? Should Christ have refused the cross? Should the patriots at Concord Bridge have thrown down their guns and refused to fire the shot heard round the world? You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
Welcome to the first edition of Freedom Radio with Pathos and Karl, Patriot Act. Yeah. Two-thirds of Patriot Act.
So we started talking about like everything in like a year ago or more. I think more.
Yes.
And like
about 2 years now.
Yeah, I think I just called you and we were, I think we were like comparing countries in like healthcare and whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting, I think, because we are not necessarily on the same voting ticket.
No.
But somehow we are. And it's due to the like very different meaning of words, I think, or whatever in America and here. I think we both are into freedom and individual rights and responsibility, but it seems like freedom has like different meanings in America and Sweden.
Well, I think the same foundations there on both sides, but there might be a little more nuanced thing because of the history of the two different societies between America and older European society. You know, it's been very nice to see I don't know if you call it the other side or not. It's to know that, you know, from America, we always looked at the Scandinavian countries as
communist bastards.
Their taxes are high, and they're all socialists and all this stuff. But when you really get to talk to somebody and you finally understand what's going on over there, and it's not like exactly what you were led to believe, at least not full on. Anyway,
yeah,
you know.
It's not what the like hardcore left-wing, hardcore right-wing Republicans say it is, and it's not what the left think it is. They long for something that is not here. So
that's really not. It's there's a lot in common, especially Sweden, I think, more than like Norway or Denmark or, you know, I know Finland's not technically part of Scandinavia, but we consider it over here to be, you know.
Yeah, it's a part of the Nordic nation, but not of Scandinavia.
Yes.
And I know it's confusing, but it has to do with the language groups or something, and also a mass thing.
Yeah. But to us over here, that's like everybody else looks at America. Well, they're all Americans. They're all fat, eat cheeseburgers. You know, we're all the same if you're not from America, except like New York and California, you know. So
America it's a big place.
It is.
It's like when people call Africa a country.
Oh, yeah. No.
Well, you are, in a way, a country. You're a federation or a union or whatever.
Yeah.
Africa isn't even that, but still people call it a country. I come from the country Europe, and I'm in the northmost part of that country. But still, in my real country, Sweden, I am in the south part.
Yes. True Southerner. There you go. So
yeah, I am a Southerner. Yeah.
Well,
and still, if you draw a line from where I live over the ocean on a map, you end up pretty high up in Canada. So
Yeah. That's what's always been amazing to me is that when I look at a map, even like Britain is like way up there as far compared to like even our northernmost states, and they can have the same type of temperatures we do. I saw that flow of the ocean and the stuff like that, you know. So
when I went over to America twice. First time we were walking about in New York, and I had in my mind that New York and Sweden was kind of on the same. Is it latitude or latitude, right?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah,
I think
on the same line, horizontal. Yeah. And then I came home and I thought, this is hot, man. This is really hot. And I came back and I was looking on a map, and I could draw a line from south of Italy
really?
to New York. Yeah, it was like,
I didn't even realize
like Rome
that.
Or something.
See, I didn't even realize it. Yeah.
You look at a map and see how far south you really live, man. Or how far north I am. I don't know what is the proper. So yeah, we've been talking, and I think we really kind of hit it when this Corona shit. I'm allowed to say shit because I'm from Sweden.
That's right. It's okay over there. Apparently, it's not here, but
yeah. So when this Corona shit hit the fan, you were calling me and you were like in a rage, you know, it's a power grab. They're turning off the internet tomorrow. And I was like, okay. And how is it over there? Because I assume that you assume that if freedom was taken away in America, we were already in the camps in Sweden. And I was like, nothing happened.
Yeah.
And then I think I have to ask your forgiveness because I had a sadist streak that made me send pictures of stores full of food and 50 children walking in a row.
Dude, it was great to see, man, at the time, because you're absolutely right. When all that first started, March 2020, and even into a little bit of February, everything started shutting down all over the world. And I was calling it for what it was. A power grab and a way for communism and socialism and Marxism
or fascism.
Fascism, yeah. To put its nasty
totalitarianism. It's like get confusing if you even go left and right on this. It's like it's the power people wanting power.
Statism is another way to say
it.
The power of the state.
The proper word, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was calling it then, and everybody said, "Oh, calm down, Logan. They were, 2 weeks to flatten the curve." And,
for 552 days or something.
Yeah,
we're all 525.
I was calling it back then, and lo and behold, how many things that we all said weren't going to happen have happened and are getting worse, and especially you would have never thought to see countries like Australia go to a total police state, martial law, dragging people out of their homes and throwing them in basically COVID jail, locking millions of people in their houses for like 2 cases, weeks, months on end. And it's never going to stop. And it just gets worse and worse and worse. So I was calling it back then. And people, I lost a lot of people that I knew. They weren't like having it, so.
Hey, by the way, that is Article 9 of the Human Rights Declaration from the UN, that you should not be subject to arbitrary arrests and detention.
Yep.
That's Article 9. So remember that, EU or UN or whatever Western country that signed this declaration. Article 9. Yeah.
Article 9. But talk about Sweden. What did Sweden do differently than the rest of the majority of Western countries, especially in Europe?
I listened to an interview with our, I don't even want to call him our Fauci because he's like the anti-Fauci. So, but our dude in that job, I listened to an interview with him, and he said that all the other Faucis in Europe were on the same line or on the same page as he was, like, distancing and not too many people in one place, that kind of things, that like those kinds of recommendations more than restrictions. They were all in line with that, and not for shutting down everything and everyone in the beginning. So we were not really unique. Everyone of the experts were on the same page, but then all of the others just went haywire. And he, as a stubborn Swede, just no, there's no data supporting that. No.
Yep.
Now we're gonna do what we're doing. We don't know.
Yeah.
We're gonna wait and see, like these people.
Here it is, August 13th. And as far as I saw about a week ago, Sweden had recorded 0 deaths from COVID for at least a couple days in a row.
Yeah,
and I don't know what the count is now.
It's not a panic right now, no.
Yes.
They are like, oh, the numbers are rising with it. It's still very low.
Yes.
First they say they're rising, but they try to. So we eventually got all these like restrictions or whatnot about how many people should be at the same. Like they shut down bigger events and stuff like that. But we never got like police running around catching people for no reason.
Yes.
And I saw an interview with one of the Social Democrat like party officials, a lady, and she was interviewed in TV, and they interviewed people around in the city, and if there should be like penalties for breaking the restrictions. And there was people, of course, saying, yeah, I think it needs to be some consequences, blah, 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 blah. And then they asked this official, like, so what do you say about this? And she said, well, I think she thinks that other people need to be punished, but I don't think she has the same opinion about herself.
Yeah.
And I that was one of those I'm proud to be Swedish moments.
Yeah.
Like a voice of sanity. And I mean, there are like, tendencies of a nanny state, especially with the Social Democrats, right? But still, she was like, yeah, she probably thinks others should get the stick, but she shouldn't. And so, I mean, you have this vaccination stuff, but it's also a very different approach. People here are like, oh, free vaccinations, that's good. Yeah, so you vote right on the spectrum.
Yeah.
In your country.
Yes.
As far as you can come, I think. Right.
Pretty well, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, okay. And I've been voting on the right side of the center once in my life, and I'm old, so I've been usually like Social Democrat or left of that.
Yes,
but somehow we are in agreement of the important things.
Yes.
So, and I think the difference with like the regular American and the regular Swedish is like the view of the state. Yeah. I think Swedish people think that we are the state, even if we see like politicians misusing their powers, and we kind of still think that the state works for us. But also, I think that the state is very careful on crossing the line where they stir up the people. Like they try to. We have like not a terror balance, but the opposite. It's like both sides know that we don't want to see the terror balance, so we keep on our sides. And I think it's strange this, but I mean, I think we want the state to protect people from overreach by the big corporations.
Yeah.
That's the Swedish focus. And I think I'm proven right by now, but and I know, but I've seen what states can do. Like, look at the rest of Europe. So you're also absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's about the overreach. So, but I think the Swedish point of view is more like, well, we know that the state can overreach, and we know that the big corporations can do. But when it comes to the state, we get to vote. And when it's come to the big corps, it's you kind of need a counter power. I think it's like the view of the states and corporations that is the big difference between like the everyday Swede and the everyday American.
Well, and I think there's a common theme and common ground on that and that is absolute power corrupts absolutely. So you had the same thing happen in America. America started out with distrust of government. That's our foundation. That's our backbone. That's in our blood. So that's where we start with. Never trust the government. But then you had a lot of innovation. You had a lot of you had a lot of technology. After the Civil War and stuff, you had, Standard Oil and J.P. Morgan, Carnegie, all them guys. But they were starting to take advantage of the worker too much, to where they were getting so rich and not giving their workers hardly anything. And then there was really nothing else to do. So they had a monopoly. And so they broke those up. And we have the same situation now
but with big tech.
With big tech, because they're a private corporation. They're a private corporation. Yeah. But so was the telephone company. The telephone company, if they came in and didn't like what I was saying on their telephone, did not come in and take away my telephone service, because that was not their job. They were a utility. These companies at this point have grown so large that they have completely taken over most means of communication, to where you could argue they have become an arm of the state, and they need to be. You have 3 to 4 people that basically control all the communication in the world. You had an Australian MP speaking against lockdowns. I think it was yesterday or the day before. Facebook took his video down. You had Rand Paul speaking the same thing in the United States Senate, and YouTube and Facebook, I don't know, YouTube at least, blocked his account, won't let him post. What's the difference? Because they already did that to Trump, and if they can do that to those people, that just goes to show you that they can do it to anybody, and that they, in their just by themselves, have the ability to shut down dissent from anybody. And they work with the Democrats in government. They don't shut down Democrats or people who argue. They only shut down the opposing view. So they cannot tell me that this is, not a violation of anyone's First Amendment, because they have been admittedly working with the Biden White House. Yeah, they admit it. So they're no longer a free enterprise. They're an arm of the state. Yeah,
they are in total betrayal of the point of media.
Yep.
Because they are the point. We talk about the third state power, like media is the third state power, who monitors the monitors, and what like they are.
Who fact checks the fact checkers?
Yeah, like media, as we have viewed it, at least in Sweden, is their job is to be a pain in the ass of government.
Yeah,
but that's not how it looks. A little here still, actually.
Yeah,
because we had like interviews on morning TV with a lady who was like comparing corona deaths with other deaths to kind of give perspective. I don't think that would happen in the States. Maybe on Fox, but not on the. We have a consensus culture in Sweden in a way that, and it's destructive. That we like to think that everyone thinks the same, basically, and then we argue from that standpoint. Like, like, you know, you could hear people. I serve coffee machines, so I go around everywhere, and I've heard the talking, you know, in the coffee rooms, and people, for example, talk about the Swedish Democrats like a nationalist, kind of on the right party, and everyone was talking like they were someone else, they were somewhere else, but not here, right?
Yeah.
And statistically, at least 3 of those guys there voted for them, you know. So, and I don't know what I'm most scared of, that so many people vote for those guys because they have kind of a rotten background.
Yeah.
Or that people assume that no one is doing it. Like, or that the people who actually vote that way, just doesn't say it. That's more scary to me. But so we have a consensus culture, and we have it in media also. They kind of assume that everyone thinks Trump is bad, for example, and stuff like that. Yeah. But it's still not this. It's not nearly what I've seen on American media. It's not like, it's not the outright lies. It's just, I assume that we are on the same page.
That's the whole thing, though. That's why our media lies, because they assume, because they get trapped in this bubble. They're all in New York, they're all in California, and they get or Atlanta. They get trapped in this big city bubble where everyone thinks the same. No one goes. Okay, good example, very good example. Matt Damon, the actor Matt Damon, he was going out to be in a new movie. A new movie that just came out with him in it. And he was playing the part of an oil rig worker in Oklahoma, I believe it was. He went out and lived with a family in Oklahoma who works on oil rigs.
Yeah.
To get to know how to play the part, to get to know the type of person he was supposed to portray. And even Matt Damon walked away. He was like, I was totally blown away because I had no idea. Basically acting like, you know, he thought we were all backwards hicks, can't spell, can't read or write. And to get to know the fact that we are pretty smart, normal people out here, and that we are legit in the way we think, and we have good reason for the way that we think, that we, you know, it's better to not rely on government, not rely on anyone else, if it's possible, to try and do things yourself. That comes from our Christian upbringing. That comes from, you know, what Paul talks about, that if a man does not work, he shall not eat. And it's not to be a burden to anyone, as long as you're physically able to do that. But if someone needs help and it's legit, then absolutely you do everything you can to help them. So it's a very earthy, down to earth type of outlook on life, and we don't like people coming in and telling us this is what you're going to do. That might work out in the big city where you have these problems like gun control and stuff like that. They think, oh, the guns are the problem. But we out here, the guns ain't the problem. You know, it's the people who misuse these things are the problem. But they don't understand that there.
And if someone misuses it where you come from, there's not a cop around like 15 seconds away to stop that person. No, there's not. Right.
Yeah. When someone is at your door, a cop's only 10 minutes away, you know.
Yeah, or 45.
Yeah. So I think that it was nice to see even an actor who's known for his liberal outlook on things to even say that I was wrong, and these aren't bad people; they're normal, good people. And I think it even changed his mind but they never get out of that. They never get out of that bubble. So, you know.
Well, what the point of this, I think we have to edit out of this. I think this is way too much talking, man.
Yeah.
And I know the point with stuff like this is that there are no cuts, but I don't think we are not grown to that point yet where we can just, you know. But however, so the point of this is, like now this is just an introduction, and to because I think like a regular American Republican from Florida would consider me a communist, but a real like a left wing, you know, woke person would consider me a Nazi.
Yeah.
And so it's a different views. So, but the point is that we are not two people from the exact same. We don't have the exact same talking points or whatever. We come from. I come from a country that at least dabbled in socialism.
Yeah.
You know, even if it's mostly it's free market.
Yeah,
and it's actually freer market than in the States with the regulation stuff. But yeah, we have a high tax pressure. We have a welfare system that is pretty strong, you know.
Yeah,
and we have universal health care. We have all those things that the left say they want in America, but I don't think many people in Sweden want Sweden to go like left-wing America, you know, because So this is the intro, and in the future we'll be talking about like whatever comes to mind, like, or go into a certain theme and just turn it around from the different perspectives. And I think one of the few things, or what. I know I mentioned this to you, but we assume that some other people will listen to this in the future. So I tell everyone, you were talking to me about your like grandfather and his social security, and that you would so you still have to pay for a bunch of his stuff because it doesn't cover, and then you think it would be more efficient to just hand him the money yourself. because then you don't have to feed the people who get paid to hand him the money.
Exactly. Yep.
I understand the logics of that. And the first thing that pops into my Swedish mind is, well, what if his grandfather didn't have a Logan?
Yep.
So, and I think that little thing, and it's not, we have not, argued or been fighting about it because that's uninteresting. But I think that shows the way, well, like the different ways in how we might think. I think very many, or like regular Swedish people, even slightly to the right, is like have this. What if everyone did this? And it's of course to speak against it. Like everyone doesn't want to.
Yeah,
that's what you would say, right? Because you're an American, and that's absolutely right. But then we have Genghis Khan, for example. I quote Genghis Khan. So don't dress in a, and what do you call it then? A fur, unless you can clothe your army in a fur.
Yeah.
So that's so I think in a way the Swedish way of thinking is right, because you can't just promise stuff and don't have the budget for it. That's why you have to have this. It has to work even if everyone,
Yep. And that's the main difference between our systems and our society, is that our politicians, except for your local politics, and even some local politicians, but once it gets up to the state and federal level, they're all so corrupt, and they take your money and they send it to Afghanistan for gender frog studies. That why would I give you more money when my neighbor, the water is broke, or in the town and there's potholes everywhere, but you want my money to send to some other foreign country when we have problems here first? I'm not saying those other countries don't need help if we can help. I have no problem with that. But
but you don't want to die to help them.
Exactly. And it's no different than how a family operates. You take care of your family first, then you help your neighbor. You know, you can't help your neighbor if you don't, if your family, if your home life is a wreck. And that's our problem in America, is that our home life is a wreck, but we're just throwing money at our neighbors so that they'll give us little kickbacks. But
so they smile to you. You do it with a smile. Thank you, the neighbor says.
That's why we are here, me and Karl, to talk, to show that even though we come from somewhat two sides of the political spectrum, that there is this underlying thing that can bring people together and show that there's a common ground here. And if we'll just talk as human beings, we'll be able to get through this stuff.
So
no communism, no fascism, no totalitarianism, no kingdom of Christ.
Yeah.
So
I know I cannot trust what Swedish media says about America. And I hope you can't trust what American media is saying about Sweden, because they it's not outright lies. They just leave stuff out.
So they take it out of context and spin it.
Yeah. So like when the Obama election and they talked about affordable care and whatever. And I could not for my life understand why people didn't want affordable care, because that's what people need, right?
Yeah.
Until I met Dan from America, who told me exactly how affordable that care is and what you get for it.
Yep.
And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. They didn't say that because it didn't become affordable at all.
No, it really was
and you
not.
Still had to pay for it all unless you were very, very, very sick.
Yep.
And then you still had to pay. You still had to like sell your house to pay for your bills.
Yeah.
Before your insurance even kicked in. And of course, then it's better to handle your own money, as you said. With why should I give $12 for them to give my grandfather $10 when I can just give my grandfather $10?
Yep.
All of a sudden, I understand that, because when you get examples for how that system works,
it's such a leviathan that it's so many moving parts, and a lot of the money just goes to their pockets, and that's all it really is. But I think I think this is a good place to wrap this up for this week. Yeah. And as we have introduced ourselves to the wide world down here in our respective bunkers, hiding out, doing information wars. So that's one of the common grounds, is that we're both in basements. That's right. That's broadcasting from a secret location. So from the underground. That's right. Before we go, though, let's mention what we do. Maybe our daytime jobs are not interesting, but I'm in Patriot. We're a Swedish like death metal-ish band, and so we'll probably be talking about music and stuff, because we kind of fell into the same line of lyrics when we saw freedom was stripped away from the free world. Yep. And so we probably talk in the future about the ideas behind different songs, and and also if something interesting happens, in the world. Yes. Yep. Have a good Friday. Friday the 13th. It is Friday the 13th, is it not? Yeah. That's a good day. But we don't fear. No, we do not fear as those who have no hope. So I am Pathos. I play in Symphony of Heaven. I'm vocals and rhythm guitar. And we are from Southern Indiana, and we play like, I call it melodic, blackened death metal. So it's kind of a mix in between all those. And yeah, we have a lot of fun doing that. And so that's who I am. So
yeah.
And this is Freedom Radio.
Yeah, Freedom Radio for the freedom of the world.
That's right.
We'll hope it come back.
We will be back. So until next time, we salute all the...
Yeah, and freedom is not really gone until you lose hope of it.
That's right. That is absolutely right.
You may have to swim in blood, but it's not gone until you give up.
That's right. So,
yeah.
All right. Until next time, Freedom Radio signing off. We will catch you from the bunker soon.
God bless you. Goodbye.
God bless you guys, everybody.